I waited a long time to start this channel. Not because I didn't want to. I did. I had the idea for years. I had little notes in my journals. I had random bursts of motivation. I had moments where I thought, I should really start a YouTube channel. And then I didn't. And it wasn't because I was doing nothing. I had clients, I had my business, I had family responsibilities, I had life admin, I had all the normal pieces of being a functioning adult. YouTube was always one of those ideas that lived in the background. Something I wanted to do one day when life was calmer and when I had more time, when I had a clearer plan. But one day kept moving. I would think about the niche. I would think about the camera. I would think about what people would say. I would think about whether I was interesting enough, polished enough, clear enough, young enough, expert enough, and ready enough. And then a month would pass, another year would pass, and the channel still didn't exist. So today I want to talk about why I think starting a YouTube channel in 2026 is worth considering. But honestly, this video is not only about YouTube. Because maybe for you, it's not a YouTube channel. Maybe it is a business, a creative project, a blog, a podcast, a class, a book, a new routine, a trip, a career move, a conversation, a health reset, a hobby, or some version of your life that you keep saying you want to start. The thing itself might be different, but the pattern is the same. You keep waiting to feel more ready. You keep waiting for the timing to be better. You keep waiting until you know exactly what you are doing. You keep waiting for life to calm down, to finally give yourself permission. And I understand that because I did it too. But after almost 100 videos, I'm starting to believe that sometimes readiness is something you build by starting. For me, YouTube has become so much more than uploading videos. It has become a place where I'm learning how to think more clearly, communicate better, follow through, build confidence, document my life, organize my ideas, and slowly create a bigger life. And I wish I had understood that earlier. Because I used to think I needed to have the whole channel figured out before I started. I thought I needed the perfect niche, the perfect setup, the perfect camera, the perfect brand, the perfect opening line, the perfect audience, the perfect plan. But now I think a lot of that comes from the process. You do not find your voice by waiting until your voice is perfect. You find your voice by using it. You do not become comfortable on camera by thinking about recording. You become more comfortable by recording. You do not figure out your message by keeping it in your head forever. You figure it out by trying to explain it to another person. And that has been one of the biggest gifts of YouTube for me. It forces me to clarify what I actually mean, because it is one thing to have a thought floating around in your head. It is another to sit down, look into a camera, and try to say it in a way that someone else can understand. Sometimes I start recording and I realize I do not actually know what I'm trying to say. Sometimes I think I'm making one video, but then halfway through I realize the real point is something else. Sometimes a topic I thought was small turns out to connect to something much bigger. And that is how I started to understand my own through line. At first, my channel felt like a lot of separate pieces. Planning, productivity, solo living, getting unstuck, confidence, money, decluttering, creator life, professional life, personal growth. And for a while that felt pretty scattered. But the more I made videos, the more I started to see the pattern. I was not just talking about planners. I was talking about systems that helped me follow through. I was not just talking about solo living. I was talking about confidence, independence, and self-trust. I was not just talking about productivity. I was asking productivity for what? I was not just talking about decluttering. I was talking about making room for the life I actually want. And I was not just starting a YouTube channel. I was trying to build a bigger life in real time. That clarity did not arrive before I started. It came because I started. So if you are waiting to have the perfect identity before you begin, I get it. But sometimes the work reveals the identity. Sometimes the project becomes the mirror. Sometimes the thing you are afraid to start is the thing that teaches you who you are becoming. Another reason I think YouTube is worth starting is because it builds communication skills in a way very few things do. You are learning to speak. You are learning to structure an idea. You are learning to tell a story. You are learning to make a point. You are learning to notice what matters. And you are learning to explain yourself without hiding behind perfection. And those skills matter far beyond YouTube. They matter if you are building a business. They matter if you are applying for work. They matter if you coach, teach, sell, lead, present, write, create, or simply want to become clearer in your own life. I used to think YouTube was mainly about views and subscribers. Of course, those matter. I want my channel to grow. I want people to watch. I want the work to turn into opportunities. I want it to become part of my business and my bigger life. I'm not pretending I do not care about the numbers. I definitely care. But the value of the channel does not only begin when you get a big number. It starts much earlier than that. It starts when you become someone who shows up. It starts when you publish the awkward video. It starts when you learn how to make a thumbnail. It starts when you improve one sentence. It starts when you get one comment that reminds you there is a real person on the other side. And it starts when you realize that even if only one person watched, you still did the thing. And that changes you. One thing I have learned from this challenge is that confidence does not always come before action. Sometimes confidence comes from action. And sometimes you do not feel brave at first. Sometimes you do the bravish thing, and then your nervous system slowly learns that you survived. The first videos can feel awkward, and they did. The first thumbnails can look rough. The first edits can take forever. The first time you hear your own voice, you might want to crawl out of your own skin, but you keep going. And then one day, recording feels a little less dramatic, editing feels a little faster, you notice a stronger title, you catch a better hook, you understand your audience a little more, and you stop treating every video like a final exam, and that is growth. And I think a lot of people underestimate the value of becoming a person who can keep going while they are still learning. Because most people are not waiting because they have no ideas. They are waiting because they do not want to be seen while they are still becoming. But that is the hard part. It is not just the camera. It is being visible before the outcome is impressive. It is letting people see the early version. It is putting something into the world before it has been polished to death. But if you wait until you are already the final version of yourself, you may wait forever. Another reason to start a YouTube channel in 2026 is that YouTube creates a body of work. And this matters. A lot of platforms move so quickly that it can feel like you're constantly feeding the machine. You post something, it disappears, and then you have to post again. But YouTube can become a library. A video you make today can still be found later. Someone can discover one video, then watch another, then realize they connect with your bigger message. That is what I am starting to see on my own tiny channel. One planner video leads someone to another planner video. A planning video connects to a personal growth video, and a reset video connects to a confidence video. And slowly the channel starts to become a body of work instead of a bunch of disconnected uploads. That matters if you are trying to build trust, because your channel can become proof of work. It can show how you think, it can show what you value, it can show what you are learning, and it can show your consistency, and it can show your evolution. And if you are building a business, a coaching offer, a creative offer, or any kind of personal brand, that is powerful. People may not hire you, collaborate with you, buy from you, or trust you because of one perfect bio line. They may trust you because they have watched how you think over time. That is one of the reasons I think YouTube can become a business asset before you are officially monetized. You can be building trust before you are earning ad revenue. You can be creating a library before you have a huge audience. And you can be practicing your message before the offer is perfect. You can be attracting the right people before everything is polished. You can be becoming easier to understand, and that matters. Now, I want to be clear. I am not saying everyone needs to become a YouTuber. Not everyone wants that, and not everyone needs that. But I do think many people need some kind of creative or public practice where they stop hiding their ideas. For some people, that will be YouTube. For others, it might be writing or speaking or teaching or making art or creating a product or starting a business or finally having the conversation or building the version of their life they keep postponing. So the question is not only, should you start a YouTube channel? The bigger question is, what have you been wanting to start and what are you waiting for? Are you waiting to feel more confident? Are you waiting for a better time? Are you waiting until you are less busy? Are you waiting until you know exactly how it will work? Are you waiting until you can guarantee it will not be embarrassing? Because that is the trap. We want certainty before we start. But a lot of certainty comes from starting. You learn by doing. You learn by making the first version. You learn by seeing what works. You learn by seeing what does not. You learn by paying attention to what gives you energy. You learn by noticing what people respond to. And you learn by staying in motion long enough to collect evidence. And that evidence matters. Because when you start something new, it can feel like nothing is happening at first. Because when you start something new, because when you start something new, it can feel like nothing is happening. You may not have the views yet. You may not have the clients yet. You may not have the income yet. You may not have the confidence yet. But you can collect evidence that you are becoming someone who follows through. One video, one page, one walk, one email, one conversation, one decision. One small action that proves you are not just thinking about the bigger life. You are building it. This is what this channel has become for me. It is not perfect. It is not huge. It is not fully monetized. It is not the polished final version. But it is real and it exists. And because it exists, I can improve it. I can learn from it. I can shape it. I can build from it. This is the part I wish I had understood sooner. You cannot improve a channel that does not exist. You cannot refine a message you never speak. You cannot build a body of work from ideas that stay trapped in your notebook. And you cannot become the kind of person who follows through by only imagining yourself following through. At some point you start. Messy, imperfect, unclear, but honest. And then you keep going. So why start a YouTube channel in 2026? Because it can help you find your voice. Because it can help you sharpen your thinking. Because it can build your confidence. Because it can create a body of work. Because it can be proof of what you care about. Because it can open doors you cannot predict yet. Because it can support a business, a brand, a community, or a creative life. Because one real person watching is still a real person. Because the process will teach you things that planning alone cannot. And because starting may be the thing that helps you become ready. So if you have been waiting for the perfect moment, this is your reminder. Start now. Start before it is polished. Start before the whole path is clear. Start with the tools you have. Start with the life you actually have. Start with one honest video, one honest idea, one honest step. And if it is not YouTube for you, ask yourself what it is. What are you waiting to start? What would make you feel more alive? What would help you build more freedom, confidence, momentum, and possibility? What would your future self be relieved that you finally began? Because that thing matters. And you do not have to become an expert before you begin. Sometimes beginning is how you become the person who can do it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.